James thought grief ended with goodbye. But 3 years after burying his wife, a letter arrived in the mail, handwritten, sealed, and signed by her. The message inside led him to a secret she'd hidden for a decade, and the child he never knew existed. James Whitaker lost his wife Elise to a rare illness. They'd been together 12 years. He held her hand in hospice, watched the light leave her eyes, and thought that was the end of their story. For the next 3 years, he did what grief demanded. Got up, went to work, came home to silence. He didn't date, didn't travel, just kept the house clean the way she liked it. Her things stayed where she left them. The piano she played, the mug with her lipstick print. He couldn't bring himself to erase her. Until one Monday, 3 years to the day she died, a letter showed up in the mail. No return address, just his name, his handwriting. Inside was a cream-colored envelope with the scent of lavender. He unfolded the paper and nearly dropped it. The handwriting, the way the J curled, the smiley face she always drew in the margin. The letter was from Elise, and it was real. It began, "James, if you're reading this, then I didn't get to tell you everything. I've carried something with me for a long time, not because I wanted to lie, but because I was afraid it would break you, or change the way you saw me." He read it twice, 3 times. She wrote about a part of her life before they met, a summer she spent in California when she was 20, a child she had and gave up. James sat frozen. Elise had a child, a daughter. But what stunned him most was the next part of the letter. She turned 18 this year. Her name is Ava. She knows nothing about me, but I left her something, and I'm asking you to give it to her. Enclosed in the envelope was a folded map, an address in Oregon, and a ring. Elise's wedding ring, the one buried with her. James felt like the world shifted. How was that possible? He searched the drawer where her original ring box had been stored. Empty. Had she known she'd die so young? Had she planned this years ago? A week later, James took a leave from work, packed the letter, the ring, and his courage. He drove 900 miles north to a small town outside Portland. The address led to a bookstore called Ava's Pages. He stood outside for nearly 30 minutes before going in. A young woman stood behind the counter, red hair, same green eyes as Elise. She looked up and smiled. "Hi there. Can I help you find something?" James nodded slowly. "I think you already have." He introduced himself, said he knew her birth mother, gave her the letter Elise wrote, a second one tucked behind the map. Ava read it at the counter. Silent tears slid down her cheeks. Then she asked, "You loved her?" "More than life." They talked for hours in the bookstore's back room, about Elise, about music, about books. Ava had inherited more than looks. She played piano too, and wrote poems in the margins of old novels. James learned that Ava had been raised by a kind foster mother but never adopted. She spent her life wondering if she was ever truly wanted. Until that day. When James stood to leave, she hugged him. Not a polite hug, a needed one. "Can I call you sometimes?" "You can call me whenever you want." He left the ring with her, and something else unspoken, the love Elise had saved in silence, now passed on in full. James drove home with one hand on the steering wheel and one on his chest, not because his heart hurt, but because for the first time in 3 years it beat for someone again. He still visits Ava's bookstore every December on Elise's birthday. They light a candle together, share a cup of tea, and read one of Elise's old favorite poems. Grief doesn't end with a funeral. Sometimes it leaves a trail, a letter, a ring, and a daughter waiting for a face she's never seen. If this story reached you, share it. Someone out there might still be carrying a goodbye that never finished.